This is a classic visual illusion. Catch it. Catch it. Catch it. Catch it. You might see a fast forearm close, but I'm just doing relax grab, relax grab. Without explanation, who would know it's finger power?
Most of the adjustment is based on the direction of force you apply when gripping the racket. In our first segment, let's briefly talk about gripping the racket. I'll teach you what finger exertion means when gripping the racket. Our second segment will cover gripping the racket in relation to friction and impact, including how to adjust the ratio between them. First, let's discuss gripping the racket. You've all heard the term gripping the racket for power. It essentially means finger exertion. It refers to using our fingers to grip the racket at the moment of contact to control our power output. The feeling of power isn't based on the arm. Let's briefly explain the principle of power generation. Whether we want to produce a whip-like force, deliver absolute quality, or achieve the perfect ball control seen in professional players who never miss, the final part of the stroke always relies on finger grip for control. Take the forehand loop as an example. If your loop feels unstable or lacks quality, it's often because you're using too much arm strength. What is arm strength? Classically, it's closing the forearm or the upper arm. In my personal understanding, in the modern style of looping, you don't need to actively or deliberately close the forearm to generate power. Remember, you don't need to consciously close the forearm. So if your loop feels stiff, or you feel like you're using too much hand power without body contribution, it's usually due to overusing the arm. This includes forearm power and upper arm power. Don't focus on that feeling. Instead, focus on our finger grip. So, how does finger grip drive the forearm and upper arm? And how is the finger grip action formed? It's simple. Let me demonstrate. Remember, using finger grip power has a prerequisite, which is also related to braking. Remember, before we loop, we must decide exactly where this stroke will finish. This is the key to braking, and you could call it the key to the whip-like action. Remember, I must decide before I loop where I'm going to swing, where I'm going to grab. Only then can I find the braking sensation. Many players only focus on hand movement before looping. They don't know where to stop. Many players think braking or the sudden stop is something you find during the stroke. That's incorrect. Remember this phrase, decide before you loop. For example, if I want to loop to the diagonal, I decide to grab towards the diagonal. I must decide my stopping point before I swing. That's how I truly control the ball. I can't be undecided before the stroke about whether to play diagonal or straight, or try to stop deliberately after initiating the swing. That won't work. Let me just demonstrate the hand action. For our grip power, our whip-like power, if I want to loop diagonal, I must decide to grab diagonal before the ball is contacted. Grab diagonal. I must have decided where to grab before I swing. For example, if I want to loop diagonal, I decide to grab diagonal right here. Then I swing directly there, stop, and it's over. The same applies to looping straight. Before looping, if I want to loop straight, I control my grip to stop on the straight line. Grab towards the straight line. That's how I find the braking element. To find braking, to find finger power, to find the stopping point, you must decide in advance before swinging where you will finish. That's the key to finding the break. It's the same when incorporating the body. You can't be in the middle of the stroke and think I want to control it. I want to stop here. It's very difficult because the momentum is already committed. Trying to stop instantly is hard to control and likely unstable. If I decide before the loop, this ball is coming, I want to loop diagonal, then I decide before swinging and grab directly there. That's how I can control it. Let me demonstrate with body movement. Decide before looping, grab, stop, grab, stop, grab, stop, grab, stop. The same for straight, grab straight, grab straight, grab straight, grab straight. This is the prerequisite for grip power. Decide before you loop where you will grab. The prerequisite for gripping is also the key to braking. Then we'll discuss how to grip the racket. This is grip power, a small prerequisite for whip-like power. Remember, this is the prerequisite for gripping and the key to braking. Many players say they only think about braking after the ball is hit, when the arm is already halfway through the swing. That's impossible to stop. The sudden stop actually happens because you decided your finish point before swinging, so you just grab directly there. Your force is directed there, so it naturally stops. The straight penhold backhand twist also requires gripping. All techniques, whether penhold or shakehand, in my opinion, require final finger control for power generation. Next, let's talk about what finger gripping actually is and how to exert force. First, using the forehand loop as an example, our power doesn't primarily come from the forearm and upper arm. It relies more on finger power to drive the forearm and upper arm, forming the complete motion trajectory. Remember, during the loop, don't focus solely on the arm. Otherwise, your power will be hard to control. You might occasionally make a good shot, or feel high power from using your forearm or upper arm, but it will be unstable. Every ping-pong ball is different. Even for forehand loops, each ball's position varies. We need fine adjustments, which are hard to achieve with just the forearm and upper arm. For fine control and stable looping, you must use your fingers. So, how do fingers control? As mentioned, we decide the finish point before looping. During exertion, relax before the loop. Remember, the prerequisite for grip power is that your grip is relatively relaxed before swinging. Many players can't find grip power or braking because they grip the racket too tightly before the loop, making the whole arm stiff. That has nothing to do with relaxed power. The prerequisite for power, finger power, everything, starts with relaxation. You must start relaxed when gripping. Don't grip the racket tightly before the ball is even coming. If you're already tight, you're far from finger power. Another point, before looping, not only should you avoid a tight grip, but also avoid a deep grip. Now I recommend a shallow grip.
尽量不要深握板。
A deep grip makes you unconsciously tighten your hold.
你也会不自觉地抓紧你的球板。什么
What's a
叫做
deep
深
grip?
握板？大家看一下啊，这是我们
This is
球
our
板
racket.
对不对？我把这个板抓得越靠里边，看这是靠外边，这是靠里边，对不对？我
Holding
越
it
靠
closer
里
to the
边
inside
抓
is a
这
deep
个就
grip.
叫做深握板。你
You can
大
try
家
it.
可以试一下啊。
Pressing the
你
web
虎
firmly
口这
against the
里
racket neck is a
顶
deep
住你
grip.
的拍儿尖，这叫拍儿尖。顶住拍儿尖顶得越死，这个就叫做深握板。其
Your
实
grip
你
is
的
already
抓板
tight.
就已经抓紧了，对不对？就已经抓紧了。
It's the same for pen hold. Gripping tightly with two fingers before looping makes the fingers and wrist stiff, preventing relaxed power.
你的手指、你的手腕就已经僵硬了。你在这样的情况下没法体会到放松发力的感觉了。那么
What is a shallow grip? Simply, don't grip so deep. The web should be slightly against the racket neck, not completely away, but a bit looser. See, this is looser. Don't grip so deep. Don't press the thumb in too far. It's the same for backhand. Shallow grip. Having a little gap, a little looseness, is normal. As long as the racket doesn't fall, a little looseness is fine. This is a relaxed grip. Only then can you experience relaxed power. We want to grip right, relaxed power grip. If you start tight, how can you grip? You're already holding it. This applies to forehand, backhand, pen hold, shakehand. For pen hold, if you start tight, how can you experience finger power? You need some looseness to be able to grab. It's the same for shakehand. Whether forehand or backhand, remember, the principle of gripping is identical. Relaxed grip. Just don't drop the racket. That's how you feel finger power. We just discussed relaxation, relax before looping. Now let's talk about the exertion itself. As mentioned before, for those who missed it, before exerting force, decide the position where your grip will be directed.
就要决定好我们抓板给出去的一个位置。记住这句话啊。
Remember, don't swing without knowing where the racket is going. You won't find breaking, and your finger power will be unstable and unfocused.
肯定是会晃动的，肯定是会不集中的。记住了啊。那么
To loop diagonal, we use our fingers to grab towards a wider diagonal angle.
我们的手指往我们的这个斜线角度抓的一个过程。
Quickly, relax, exert, relax, exert.
发力，放松，发力。其实这个就是抓板了。
This relaxed exertion is the grip. Relaxing and then grabbing is the grip. Now, a few different points.
讲几个不一样的环节啊。
Remember, gripping isn't just a single squeeze. It's not just going hey and squeezing here or there.
大家有可能在这个情况下啊，可能
You might be confused. When do I grip? Do I grip here, here, or here? When should I exert force? Remember, gripping isn't just one squeeze. Gripping is the complete motion trajectory from here to here. A completed and full motion trajectory. That's the grip. Gripping isn't just holding the racket tight before the swing. It's relaxing first, then gripping out, grabbing out. This entire process is the complete grip. Remember, gripping isn't holding the racket, nor is it squeezing at a specific point. I start relaxed here and grab directly to this position, forming the complete motion. That's called gripping. Why does gripping allow fine adjustment? And why don't good players need to focus on forearm and upper arm feeling? Look, when we grab forward, it already drives our forearm and upper arm into motion.
所以我在这里跟大家讲，我的
So
理
my
念就是
philosophy is that
基
most
本上
professional
我
athletes
去
I've
了解
observed
大部
don't
分
have a
专业运动
distinct
员
fast forearm
没有
retraction.
快收前臂的这一下，很多时
Often,
候
comments
网
on
友
my
发视频的时候
videos
评
say
论区在
fast
讲
forearm
什么
pull,
快
fast
收前
forearm
臂、
pull.
快收前臂、
Really,
快收
stop
大臂，
thinking
真
about
不
that.
要再去考虑这儿的环节了。你
Fast
快收前
forearm
臂、
or
快
upper
收大
arm
臂，你的发
retraction
力一
leads
定
to
是僵
stiff
硬的，
power.
或者
Even
说
if
就
you
算
make
你
the
拉
shot,
球台，
you
你
lose
追
fine
求
ball
的一个
control.
精细的控制一定是没有的。看啊，
Watch.
我手
When I
指
focus
往
on
前
grabbing
抓的
forward
这
with
一
my
下，
fingers,
我去主
doesn't
动
that
去发力，
already
我
drive
往
my
前抓的
forearm
这一
and
下，
upper arm
我
into a
是不
complete
是
action?
就已经带动我的前臂与大臂形成一个完整的动作了？对不对？
If I
我
just
只要
grab
这里去往
forward,
前抓，
my
往
forearm
前
and
抓，
upper
往
arm
前抓，
follow
我
that
的前
grabbing
臂、我的
force.
大臂就会跟着我向前抓的这一下的力量进行一个移动了。所以
So
说
after
会
learning to
抓板
grip,
之后，
you
不
don't
用
need
去
to
考
think
虑
about the
前臂
forearm
与
and
大臂
upper
的环
arm.
节啊。那么在正手情况下呢，大家不知
For
道
forehand,
什么
if
时候
you're
抓
unsure
板的
when
时
to
候
grip,
很
it's
简单。
simple.
我给大家做
Let
一
me
个动作就能
demonstrate.
看明白了。你看啊，
Backhand also requires
反手也
gripping.
需要抓板吗？当然需要。你看啊，比如说
Let
我
me
在
show you
正
the
手，
timing
大
for
家
gripping.
给大家这个动作做的是什么时候抓板的这个时机？大家看一下啊，
The ball jumps
从
from
对
the
面球台
opposite
跳
side
过
to
来，
this
跳
point
到
on
我
my
身
body,
体的这个
loop
点
at
位
this
的时候，
point, in
拉
front of the
球在这个
body.
点拉，对不对？在身体前面这个点拉啊。然后
As it jumps
我
up,
们在
during the
它
backswing,
跳起来的一个
relax.
瞬间，引手的时候先放松，看好了啊，什么时候抓
When
板
to
啊？
grip,
球
the ball
跳起
jumps up,
来，
hit, grab.
打，抓住。看啊，
See,
球
the
跳起
ball
来，球
jumps
跳到这
here.
儿，
At
跳到
this
这儿，
moment,
打，
grip.
抓住，就在这个瞬间去抓板啊！再来一遍
Again,
啊，
grab.
抓住，
See,
是不是
it jumps
跳
into
到我身体
position
里面
here.
起来了，
Grab right
打
at this
抓
spot.
住，就在这个位置进行抓板，这个
That's the
就是一
complete
个
grip.
完整的抓板了。包括
Same for
反手位
backhand.
也是一样
Wait
的，
for the ball
也
to
是
come.
等球
Jump
过
to the
来
hitting
过
point.
来
Watch
跳
my
起来
hand.
跳到我身体里面这个瞬间，大家注意看我的手啊，我的
My
手
open
张
hand
开
means
的就代表
relaxed.
放松，
The grab
抓住
means
的这一
gripping.
下就代表抓板啊！你看，
See,
跳起来之
after
后
it
跳起来
jumps
之后
up, grab.
抓板，对不对？跳到
When it
我
jumps
身
to
体
the hitting
里面这
point,
个位置之后，
I
跳到我的
transform
击
my
球点的
previous
这一下的
forearm
时候
and upper
我
arm
把我
power
之
into
前的
finger
前臂
controlled
发力
grabbing.
把我之前的大臂发力变成了现在的靠手指控制我的抓出去
Jump
的
up,
环节，
hit,
对不对？
grab.
跳起来打，抓
The
住，
ball
抓出来
comes,
了，跳起来
jump up,
打，
hit,
抓
grab.
这
That's
个
the
就是
gripping
抓板的
timing,
时机
the complete
形成的
action.
完整动作，打
The hit is the
就是
grip.
抓板，打就是抓板，是不是？
Let
给
me
大家拿几个
demonstrate
看
just
一
the
下
hand
啊，
action.
很简单的，其实我只做手上动作，看一下啊，打球之前正手位啊，打球
Before
之前
playing,
来
relax.
打球之前先放松，球
As
跳
the
起来
ball
这一下
jumps up, grab.
抓住，
Grab at this moment.
啊，来抓住啊，在这个环节，在这个环节，对不对？
Rely
把
on
我
my
的
fingers.
手指
Watch them
把我的
relax.
手指
Hit.
放松，
That grabbing
打
action forms the
打
complete
的
motion,
这一下
the grip.
抓完形成的完整动作就叫做抓板。那么
Now with
拿
the
过来
racket,
看一下，看
grab.
抓住
Grab it.
抓住
Grab it.
抓住
Grab it.
抓住
Grab it.
对吧？那么你可能在这个打球的动作当中，你
You
看我
might
好
see
像
what
是
looks
快
like a
收前
fast
臂
forearm
但是其
retraction
实
in
都
the
是
full
抓板
action,
的力量。
but it's actually
对吧？
grip
这也
power.
是为什么大
That's
家
why
看
on
电视上
TV,
的专业运
pros
动员
seem
哎
to
觉得
snap
人
the
家啊
forearm
收
very
前臂收
fast
前臂特别快，
without being
因
told.
为如
You
果
wouldn't
不
know
跟
they're
你讲
using
的话
finger power.
你根本看不出来人家其实是手指去发力的。你看
My
我的
action
动
might
作
look
好
like
像
a
也是
fast
快收
forearm
前臂
snap,
前
but
臂在
I'm
收，
using
对不对？
finger
但
power.
其实我是手指去发力的，是不是？
Let me
再
do
来
a
两个
couple more.
看一下啊，再来两个，对吧？这个
This
就
is
是
a classic
叫做什么
visual
叫做经
illusion.
典的一个视觉错误，是吧？来，抓住
Catch it.
啊，抓住，抓
Catch
住
it.
抓住
Catch it.
抓住
Catch it.
对吧？你可
You
能
might
看
see
我
a
好像
fast
快收前臂
forearm
其实
close,
我就是
but
做
I'm
这样
just doing
送
relax
抓
grab,
送
relax
抓
grab.
送抓的一个动作，能理解吗？这个不跟你讲，你说
Without
这不跟你讲
explanation,
就是
who would
谁
know
能
it's
知道
finger
他
power?
人是靠手指发力的，对不对？包括
Same for
随便
straight
也好
line
反手也
shots.
是一样的道理，对吧？反手也是
Backhand
一样的
follows
道
the
理。
same logic.
打开手
Open
的时
hand
候
means
代表是放
relaxed.
松的
The
啊，
grab means
然后
exertion.
抓住的这一下代表是发力的。看啊
Watch.
放松
Relax. Grab.
抓住
Relax.
放松
Grab. grab.
抓住，放松
Relax,
抓
grab.
住
Can
你
you
看能
see
看
my
清我的
hand
手哈
when it
什么时候
opens,
打开，什么
when
时
it
候抓住
grabs?
你看，来打，来
Hit.
打，对不对？我就
I
在这个
grip
环
at the
节
moment the
跳到
ball
我的
jumps
击
to
球
my
点
hitting
位上
point.
的这么一个瞬间，我去进行我的一个手指抓板。那么来，你看啊，反手位
For
打球的
backhand
时候也是
counter
一样
hit,
的，
it's the
啊，
same.
放松，打，放松，
Relax, hit.
打，放松，打，放松，
Relax, hit.
打，是不是？啊，我就靠
Just by relying
我
on
就
this
靠这么
small
的一个小
movement,
动作
I can hit with
对
such
不
a
对？
small action.
我就靠这么一个小动作，我这个球就能抽这么响，
Where does that power come from? Many players can't find the whip-like feeling on backhand topspin or backspin. Why? Because you haven't experienced finger power, you're just closing the arm. In that case, it's hard to achieve instant acceleration and braking to stop. Only by using the fingers, our extremities, can we hit the ball so loudly and experience the whip-like feel. Including finger grip power, we just discussed topspin. Do you want to see how to use finger power for backspin? Let me tell you, all techniques, in my personal understanding, can incorporate finger power.